time, it said it wouldn't support it.
Oh, there's so much weird stuff going on. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you fine. I just turned on the live stream, but it's going to take a couple of minutes. Let me double check it. Let's see. It says it's streaming. Reboot. Yeah, we're coming on. There's nobody here yet. There's one. Okay, so let me get out of this. Let me get over here. Okay, there we are. Give it a couple of minutes. Yeah, it's been quite an interesting corridor since on or about the 10th. I guess people are talking about the 12/12 to 12/21 period, ending with a full moon and solstice. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for myself, I've definitely noticed the shift and a lot coming up, a lot surfacing for me personally.
Yeah. Does it feel I know it's personal, but do you feel does it feel collective to you as well?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. I feel, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay. I definitely feel that there is it's almost like clearing or shedding or letting go of the identification that we have and that we have been labeling ourselves, the beliefs, the patterns, the false programming, and also between the divine feminine and masculine, as I'm feeling personally, releasing the beliefs and wounds around the relationship to the divine masculine and feminine within us and collectively with each other.
Yeah.
That's what I'm seeing come up because of a lot of people that I've come in contact with, and including myself, there's a lot. And, you know, I keep reminding myself, thank you.
Yeah.
You know, thank you for that. You know, thank you because it's happening instead of the victim consciousness and happening to me. Thank you, because I now see where I am. And I feel a lot of people are really awakening to that.
Yeah, I think so. Morgan and I have been talking about it. We've been talking about this since about the 10th. My birthday was the 9th, and she said she felt like she might have held it back on the 9th to facilitate. She did a great job on my birthday. It was the best day of my life. It was incredible. But there definitely was a couple of things that happened to me was from about the 1st through the 8th, I must have received literally 150 plus requests to come on the show. Wow. So it was really, it wasn't just a little surge. It lasted about a week. And then the birthday came, things kind of went, and it was very expansive. My daughter was here. And then by the 10th, we were already saying, what's going on here? It's like, what for? Like, I'm going to go do this, right? Like the have to do's and the need to do's no longer have the relevance that they had. And it's just this weird kind of thing. So we were talking today and she said, you know, she thinks it's like, we've always talked about, everybody's talked about having a foot in each world. And now they're merging in finality. And I was like, I don't know if that really resonates totally. I can see what she's saying. And then I said, well, wait a minute. And I was thinking about what Franco would talk about with the inverted matrix. And then there's a 3D, and then there's an organic 3D. There always was. but it was superseded by the inverted matrix, which was shut off, depending on whose account, a year and a half, 2 years ago. And so it's faded out as our egos have faded out. So I saw that merging she was talking about. I started to understand it because I thought, okay, so what's happening is all these reference points from the inverted 3D aren't coming with us, but the organic 3D is. And so it kind of feels like that, like these reference points. And I think you're onto something with the feminine and the masculine. Like that kind of covers everything, right? And everything else follows suit. And I was telling her last night, I started getting this really loud tone and I need to go lay down. So I went lay down, and then it was this really big tone and it was going in equally into both ears. And I understood it had something to do with the hemispheres, the masculine and the feminine. And I also felt like, yeah, it's personal, but it's like all this week, it's kind of collective. And then it would get really loud in the masculine ear and fainter in the feminine ear. And then I could basically, I guess through the third eye, feel or see it, align or correct itself or come back to the point of original whatever. And then the tones would hit equilibrium again. Mm-hmm. So to me, that's kind of like what you were saying and what's happening with people, because everyone that I've talked to for the last, and not many people, I can't even answer messages hardly. They just keep coming and coming, because that started again around the 10th. But they're feeling somewhat bored. It feels strange. There is stuff coming up, but it's not like it used to come up. You're just like looking at it going, oh, yeah. And then, of course, there's a lot of physical things happening in our physical matter experience, such as what happened to you and your family. Your grandfather passed, our condolences. But people transitioning, people going to the hospital, not everything I'm talking about is COVID related or vaccine related, but even like this rapid acceleration of UFO disclosure. I've been watching the different, just some different platforms, how they're really coming out with it. And then you see people talking about that our brother, sister souls that are playing that role are like throwing everything in the kitchen sink out there as a last ditch effort, because the writing's on the wall. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. Going back to what you were saying about the spheres, I also feel it's like a recalibration.
Yeah.
A recalibration within us because of the platonic light coming in, because of how quickly we are shifting. Our bodies and our fields are going through this huge shift. And what you were saying too about everybody coming online and contacting you, and that's something too that I wanted to mention. You have, basically showed up and put in this service work that you're doing for so many people. And that frequency is felt, and people want to connect to that frequency because it's sincere and it's real, and that you're really making a difference, and people want to be a part of this synchronicity, this like harmony that you're creating.
Yeah, I've noticed. Oh, I'm sorry. So like, go ahead.
Oh, and I just, I want you to really feel that. I was thinking that before I came on, that I really wanted to, bring that forth. And because there's certain individuals really showing up and doing the work and providing content for people to, whether it's through knowledge or integration or just holding space for people.
Yeah.
And I think, that that deserves recognition for doing what you do, and creating this sacred space for everybody. It's quite beautiful.
Well, I appreciate that. But what I think it is, because I really study this over the last, and it's not just, it could be Post, it could be the Soulogy group, it can be Morgan and I, it can be everything that's revolving around it. And to me, it's like a set of frequencies. So like if you look at what you're talking about, it's very obvious to me as the days have gone by that it's a vortex. And this is just one example that we can apply to any facet of our life. But like in this one, you've got divine union. You've got the physical of what you're talking about. And that happens in many ways. It happens individually, it happens with people, it happens, it doesn't have to be romantic. There's lots of ways that I would call it that sacred power frequency, through collaboration, through non-egoic, through serving. And so like if I look at this one, so she's very sensitive to the frequencies as they change, right? And so she's always kind of one step ahead. Like she just put out a post yesterday, hey, are there any couples out there? And not to come on and talk about, how to do this and how to do that, but to talk about what's it like to be going through ascension and having the highs and lows as an individual. And I say highs and lows, in a non-polarity way, really just the fluctuations, the flow, and the things that come up for individuals. And, a couple's just an expansion of that, or a group is an expansion of that. But so there's two things I see. One is that feminine frequency that's in touch, the intuitive, in touch with here's where we're at, the navigator, basically, part of our brain or part of our essence. And then the other part to me is the masculine, which as I can try to futilely describe what the last few years have been, and I'm not just talking about myself, I'm talking about the world, is that part of us that shows up. That part of us, like, people, I say, I know I have, and I haven't the last 2, 3, 4 days, because it's been a crazy, weird environment, but to show up no matter what, because that's where the code is. So what I'm seeing is both of those aspects, not just in what I described, but I'm seeing it in the field too, because you're seeing the intel of the feminine part of us that's saying, hey, this is what's going on. This is what's happening. We've been talking about it. We've all been buying into it, no matter how committed we say we were. We've all had our doubts. And now it's kind of like taking the lead. Like we're going to go with this that we've never gone with before. And then the masculine part, I'm seeing a lot of in the night. Well, the nice thing or the notable thing about all of these inquiries coming in to be on the show is that the vast majority of them are without agenda. They're without, hey, I want to sell something. They're literally people, and I'm just going to try to go in the memory banks because my memory is shot, but like this today, I think I counted 13. And one of them said, it was a lady, and she said, listen, I don't know what I have to offer, but I've been tuning in to you and tuning in to the communities for a few years. I'm always in the background. I don't know what I have to offer, but I feel this nudge to come on and share space with you and just tell my story, so to speak. And she's like, and if it doesn't resonate, I understand, like almost timid. But to me, that's that showing up thing. We're seeing people, we were just talking about it. We're seeing people. It's just become almost like it was an accelerating path, and obviously an ascending path. But now it seems like somebody stuck a turbocharger in it, and people are really coming out. And really at the root of it is their individual experience or their individuality, their uniqueness, their soul signature in human form. So that's kind of how I see it. And that's today.
People feel like just the feeling of change is here. And how can I be a part of this change? And however I need to show up authentically, right, is how I need to move forward. Yeah. And I also feel that there, even though, like you were saying, but this lady, a lot of uncertainty, but a willingness and a deep trust to know that I'm not too sure what may come out of this or what is happening right now in the world. But what I know is who I am and what I have to offer, and then collectively allow that to emanate out to others for a message. I feel like so many people, because there are a lot of unknowns, there's a lot of certainties, but there's a lot of unknowns that we are co-creating together.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting too. And I don't know, because I think like a lot of people, my habits have changed over the last few weeks in particular, which I think has been happening for all of us. You know, you could explain that a lot of different ways, but I see like, it's like what you were talking about. And so everything is a mirror of the whole. It's basically a field of consciousness or playground, or vortex, where people feel safe to come out and say, this is what I think. You know, I think this, or I think that, or this was my experience. It's relevant. And it's not like coming from a place of wounded ego or disempowerment. It's coming from a place of expansion. And wow, look, she's doing it, he's doing it, they're doing it, or this is a really cool playground. Let me come out and talk about, you know, what, and it's also an innate nudge. So I think this is a really positive sign when you consider, if you go back, even back to the election here, whenever it started a couple of years ago, and of course, COVID and all the things that have been thrown out there, and the projection, I would say projection-based discussions and debates and arguments that were happening even in this community, these communities. But I don't see that as what little I've been online, unlike maybe 2, 3, 4, 6 months ago, a year ago. But what I'm seeing is this is the conversation or the frequency or band of frequencies, and it's not so much of the us against them or someone's out to get us. It's about self-development and self-determination, and I'm seeing that, and that's just from where I'm sitting. You know, I'm not saying that that's the gospel truth for everybody, right?
No, I would agree. And I feel that more and more people, because of whatever restrictions, are also the freedom to choose. Yeah. What am I choosing in this moment? And with that, what you were saying about, instead of, you know, us against them, it is the awareness to look at the situation, listen to it compassionately, without placing what we used to, you know, let's say 6 years ago, 10 years ago, on that circumstance or individual, and just holding people in a space.
Yeah.
And balancing the polarity, witnessing it, holding it within ourselves, seeing it within ourselves, and then also being the observer to sit back and see what's going on. I've noticed that within myself, being able to pick up these patterns where I used to be, and seeing it in other individuals as a reminder to say, oh, thank you. And then being that mirror and that echo for them, holding space for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. And even hearing them come in your own head, or saying, oh, I used to do this. Yeah. Yeah. I get that. I watched this really interesting clip last night. It was a Joe Rogan clip. It was with a guy, I can't remember his name, but this guy was in the 60s, and I'm sure he may still be, but he was, he was with Timothy Leary and Terrence McKenna, those types, where they were doing hallucinogen plant medicine. Mm-hmm. And so he was talking about how they had this ceremony, and years ago, because he was talking about what you just said, and so they got in a circle and they were doing DMT. They were smoking DMT. So one person would take a hit, lay on their back. It takes about 15 or 20 minutes. They would have their experience and they would come back, and then they would tell the group about what they saw, right? And so it was a whole night thing. They just went around the circle. But what was interesting is what this guy said was basically, and I'm sure a lot of us can relate to this, it started out with where he was like taken back in time to the Big Bang, essentially. And then was witnessing and experiencing the evolution of consciousness right up to the day. And how everything was being presented as polarity. But as he continued forward in evolution, the polarities were minimizing, right? They were integrating. And he said that it was interesting because when he was getting to the end of the trip, his ego mind or whatever came in and said, "What about Hitler?" And it really knocked him for a loop. And so he said he went into that. He was standing behind Hitler. Hitler was giving a big speech with thousands of people. And so he was feeling into it and just going along. And then he said he started to put his hand up in the salute. And when he would do it, he would bring it down, and then the crowd would do it back. So in that moment, he saw what was happening. He saw that Hitler was giving this energy out, mm-hmm. and that everybody was giving it back to him in mass. And so it was on a very personal observation through the experience of basically being that person, that he understood that the energy that was coming back was so powerful that he lost sight of any ideology to serve or whatever. It was just, there was no way. And so in that moment, he, I guess in a sense, integrated that consciousness, which was represented by that person. But I think that's what's happening. I think we're starting to go, like you mentioned, labels at the beginning, and with labels comes what? Judgment. Right? Separation, division. Yeah. But I think that to me that's like what's happening to us. We're becoming more accepting, we're allowing, and it's superseding whatever the movie's playing.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And I think more people are becoming aware of the subtle frequencies, within groups, within, the masses. And because of this shift in ascension, even not only becoming more sensitive, but becoming aware of what is the greater scale of what is really happening. I mean, even for myself too, this huge transformation, like I'm hardly even wanting to eat.
Yeah.
Or sleep. Yeah. Because of this frequency right now. It's like you said, it started, I've noticed, the 11, 12, this portal opening with the galactic, I think it was the galactic alignment, the 0 point convergence.
Yeah.
Into the 21st. And we also have a really strong connection to Jupiter, which is a very powerful power planet of wisdom. So, depending on the frequency, you can really tune into and access a lot of codes of, past lifetimes right now, and the accompaniment of heaven and the galactics and your team in spirit as well. So I think people are really, whether they are aware of it or not, it's happening.
Yeah.
It's happening. We're in it.
I think they are becoming more consciously aware. I talked to a relative yesterday who's you know, we're close. I mean, there's no nothing between us, but we, you know, I would say he's more in the traditional 3D environment.
Right.
And I hadn't talked to him for several months, and things I could just pick up from him, and you know, and that would be representing his family and him. Just this, you know, it was still the choosing self and equally choosing, you know, the external, the Trinity energy, you know, serving self, you, and the collective all in the same stroke, equal. And so it's things like taking on a job where, because where he was at, they were going to start having him come back to the office. And he was like, I don't want to go back to the office. I'm going to see if I can find something where I can just stay home all the time. I love this. But how many people are doing that? He was telling me how the banking industry is having a hard time staffing because nobody wants to come in anymore because we've all had a taste of working out of the house, right? In our underwear, right? So like that. And then he was talking about the whole COVID thing and how it had affected his family. They had gotten it in just the way that they would function out in society in a place where there's a mandate for mask. He says, we just don't wear it. You know, I mean, it wasn't like rebellious and it wasn't like antagonistic. It was just like a very calm from a place of peace and honoring self, that this person and this family and therefore, you know, more, because he made one comment to me. He said, you know, we went to the store and there was an entire family that didn't have the mask on. So it's like people are choosing themselves in that Trinity energy and not looking back.
Yeah,
and that,
I definitely agree.
Yeah, I was just going to say, energetically, that's extremely powerful. Like people making that or getting onto that trajectory or path is a huge energetic, you know, like cosmic nuclear bomb going off in this grid.
I'm hearing in freedom, in love, I am free. Choice through that is in freedom, I'm free. In freedom, I'm love. And knowing that we are this frequency of love. And in this frequency of love, it dispels all fear. And embodying that love as you are.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, keep going.
I lost what I was saying.
I'm sorry.
Just screaming in.
There's a little bit of a lag, and I wasn't trying to interrupt you. No, I was just going to say it's a different love. It's not the love we thought. It doesn't have any restrictions. You know, like things like, I want to do this, but what will that person think? Like, it's not the reference or point of context that it used to be. Like, I'm not hurting anyone. This is okay. This is for me or whatever. And so that's like, say, a characteristic or a symptom of what's different, you know, not answering a message. It's not only, you know, because I've had to deal with this and I've talked about this on the shows, especially over this year. But it used to be that I'd get, say you get 50 in and it's not that I don't get to them, it's just when, because they come like in just waves, right? And so it used to be if there was 100 and I was slow answering, 20 would write back and say, what's your problem? You know, in one way or another. And now it's almost non-existent. It's like everybody's getting it. We can try to explain it, but it's way bigger than that because it's communication, connection, collaboration, the things you're talking about in like a blanket statement, like love, being that which we are, and being okay with that. And I think that's a big part of what I was talking about earlier, that I see is the masculine part. You know, the intuit is there. She's founded on it. We're founded on it. And then the masculine part of us going out and saying, hey, let's build something, so to speak, energetically, through the individual stepping up.
Right. And holding each other in that space of compassion, while the other, integrates or goes through growth. Because I feel like what you were saying before, it's a balance, it's balancing both the male and female and the polarity of what may be arising in every given moment. Is the wave that you were saying, that is constantly the influx of just like the breath, the influx of the inhalation, the space, the exhalation, how things move in and out, and how we're expanding and growing in every moment with that is part of this, activation, is part of this frequency shift too.
Yeah.
And because of that, we're holding each other in a higher light and dispelling and transmuting, transcending, however you want to say it, these lower or
distorted
frequencies, distorted, patterns.
Yeah, because we all had it. It was imprinted on all of us, and I think part of what you're saying too is, I guess it goes hand in hand. There's less judgment of self, and there's less judgment of what we thought we weren't, or what's the other polarity, or who the other polarity is, or how they behave, or whatever. But it's like, maybe it's a compassion, like a genuine alignment with compassion. Such as that example that guy gave in that Rogan thing. I mean, he was basically saying, it'd be like looking at a perpetrator of whatever kind and saying, like, what happened to that person? Like, what was their experience? And even what was their previous life? What's their karma? Were they abused in some way? Were they perpetrated? It's like there just seems to be a presentation from mainstream media of a world gone crazy, but everyone watching it's like going, I can't relate to this. That's not the power, that's not, relevant to the degree that it used to be. And it's not even by a little, it's by a long shot. Because I think too, I bet if we asked, and I'll ask you, like over the last few weeks, say 2 or 3 months or whatever, it's become harder to even go there and look at that stuff, not because it makes you uncomfortable, because it just doesn't do anything for you. You know what I mean? Like, so even if you want to jump in there and engage that distortion, you can't stay there even if you want to.
Yeah, I would agree. I think I'm coming to the realization, what's the point? It's wasted energy.
That's
right.
Yeah. And that actually goes beyond what we see as distortion, and even in the way we function. That's what Morgan and I've been getting. Like, I told her, you should do a post and call it what for? What for? Why do I need to do that? It's like it's a breakdown It's not like one section of us is getting repaired and realigned, and then they go to it's just the whole thing is happening at one time. So in the discovery of like a multidimensionality of the human itself, I'm not talking about what's out there. I'm talking about just our bodies, and people talk about 8 bodies, 9 bodies, whatever. But it's like, so you become more aware of all that, like the body itself, the physical body speaking. A lot of people talked about that for the last year and a half on the show. The changing role of the mental, the changing energy of the emotions, the fact that they're less domineering, less controlling, less reckless, right? I mean, there's all these subtle, it's a subtle, but it's a multifaceted subtle change.
Yeah, it's like a clearing, a purification, and an unplugging of that type of matrix, right? Just pure clarity.
Well, it's clarity comes and then it goes and comes, and I don't know. It's not a bad thing. It's just almost, does your head feel like it's cloudy? A lot recently, like just, I can't really explain it, but like it's a presence, no doubt you're present, but it's like, I think Morgan said, it's like somebody took the software out and put a new software in. And we were getting used to the new software and how it actually works because everything's been wiped.
Yeah, and I've been hearing from my guys to go out, be in nature.
Yeah.
I've been called to, go into the forest, go to the water, stand by the water, stand by a tree. And it was a few days ago, I think it was the 1212 portal. I was guided to go to the lake, and as soon as I did, a huge transmission came through, a light code transmission. And what you were saying is the decoding, so that the higher frequencies and within ourselves can, go through this huge integration. Wouldn't you agree? Like, yes, we're going through this huge thing. So part of this recalibration and restructuring is going back to what we've always known, which is nature and healing through nature, and being, in the forest or part of the water as healing the waters within us, but being in that water and like really listening to what nature is, trying to communicate to us, that wisdom to us.
Yeah.
I feel like that is for me, how, sometimes if I'm feeling, it's almost just like a call. Okay, you need to go. Like, I don't even question it. It's like, you need to go outside. You need to go to you need to go to the water. You need to do this. And it's like, okay. And really listening to that call.
Yeah.
And knowing that is part of who we are. Is that?
Yeah. Yeah. I was watching Robert Sepper video last night, a couple of them. And so he's an anthropologist, and he was providing some information, presenting some information that had to do with the first evidence of basically a computer, not by our standards today, but what he called an analog as opposed to digital. And basically they had found some stuff, and this stuff was, we're talking like 200 to 800 years before BC. And it was basically like a bunch of gears, like the inside of a watch. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because they utilized it to measure, but it became, I guess, more computerish because it was able to go like into the future, so to speak. So in other words, one of the big purposes that they had for it was to understand what the stars were doing and the movements of them. So they had figured out how to, with all these gears, how to simulate each planet around the sun, even if it was an oblong orbit and such. And so the reason I bring it up is because when I was watching it, I was thinking, wow, so this was happening like way back, and even happened before that. So we were in tune to what you're talking about. We were in tune to nature. We knew what was going on, and we knew before it happened. And this was way back, right? I mean, this is so, I think there's a lot to be said for what you're saying about, about nature and just paying attention to that force.
Going back to our roots. Yeah, going what is part of us. And personally, I feel that is the way that we're heading in terms of healing, medicinal healing, and just a deeper connection, because that was part of what we have lost, part of ourselves through that whole transition. The 9-to-5 job.
Yeah.
Or it's not even 9 to 5, 9 to 10:30.
9 to 10:30. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And and look at this, like with my relative, I was talking, it was my brother, just not going back to, and I'm not going to go back into that template. I'm going to work out of the house, and I'm going to navigate this. Like he was even talking about how, first of all, his job said, we're going to go back into the office. Then he gets a call from a headhunter. So he didn't solicit it. It came to him, right?
Amazing.
Like maybe the evolution was, he said, you know what? I don't want to do that. I don't know what I'm going to do. Then this headhunter calls me. Then he gets I guess he applied. And I think he said 3 of them asked the status of the jet. And he just went around that. Next one, didn't say anything, put it in, got the job. And you know what I mean? So it's like when the more we can, I guess for me, it's like honor yourself, but it's a mutual thing. It's a immediate thing with your external. And as a part of that, things come your way. I know it sounds like a cliche and like a bunch of BS or, new age.
I don't think that's exactly it.
I know. I mean, it's like the fairy tale is so real that the hardest part may be accepting it. They used to say, oh, the biggest fear we have is the fear of our own power, or accepting our divinity, or the ET's family calls us those who forgot they were gods, that whole mentality. But the fairy tale is real. It's as real as we make it. That's what's crazy. That's wild. But it's right there. And it's already happening for some people.
Oh,
and I believe it's expanding.
I have a student. She was working in an office, and she was laid off because of COVID, and she basically just said, "That's it. I'm done. I'm not going back there." And she was able to manifest a dream job where she has her own hours and she gets to do what she wants to do at home.
Yeah.
And I think more and more people, like what you were saying, is basically through freedom of choice saying, hey, wait a second here.
Yeah.
I don't have to follow this guideline. I can make my own guidelines. And we could do something a little bit different. I think more and more people are realizing it. Hey, wait a second here. Do I need to do this? I don't need to do this anymore.
Right.
I don't need to feel this way anymore. I don't need to follow this structure anymore. It's not serving me.
Yeah, it's like the power of the paradox. Like you have all these restrictions set upon you, and then from that you actually gain more freedom.
Yeah.
Because that's really the thing. It's right here. And I don't mean to, what I mean is like the thought. Mm-hmm. Like the thought, that we carry forward, because everything's going to follow suit. And so your friend or my brother and saying, hey, I'm not going to do that. It's, and I've been saying this for a while, not because I'm smart, but because it just seems apparent everything is changing so rapidly. But the awareness sometimes is the whole trick. Like, it's like you go, oh, is that the way it is? Boom, it's done. Like your alignment comes in, you may not know it or get it, but you've just altered the neural pathway or something's happened.
Yes. Awareness brings change, and it also creates the ripple effect for others to see the change. Yeah. They see it within you, and then they choose,
that's what's happening. Yeah.
That's
that's like the innate network of transmission senders and receivers. Like, you're right. It's the contagion in this grid is the soul, or the illumination of the soul, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, this whole alignment thing, and we talked about for years, all the shadow work, all the galactic communications and whatever. I mean, all that facilitation, it's crazy, but as the days go by, it's very obvious. Just alignment is being yourself. Like, that's just too weird. That's too weird. You like to dance, go dance. You like to, eat tacos, eat tacos. What makes you? I saw this meme today when I got on, and it said, in order to change, or in order to create a new neural pathway, you have to do something repetitively 400 times. But if you do something in alignment, like, I don't remember the words they use, but like enjoy, because you love doing it, you only have to do it 20. And I thought, wow, that's it. Like, that's a weak description, but that's how things are working now. It used to take this long. Now it takes this long. At least the accessibility to that template is there. We might still go do the long one for a while, but I'm just saying it's there.
It's the frequency of it. If you think about it, when you're in a state of bliss, or you're having fun, time flies by. Yeah. It's the where you're forced to do something,
yeah,
do this for 40 days. Most people won't do it for 40 days.
Yeah.
Right. But if you're doing something that you love, you won't even think twice about it.
No. Not to mention what's behind the 40 days. Like,
right.
Like, we can you know what I mean? Like, last night I was telling Morgan, I had this thing come in where the galactic itself, and it wasn't one species, it was, and this was just a personal thing, whatever. They came in and said, do you want to merge? And I'm like, I thought we already did. And they said, like, no, you've got these prejudices against us. And I said, oh yeah, you're right. Like, I'm questioning you. I don't always trust you. I know you have agendas, but it was all good, but it was an opportunity to increase or expand in collaboration, because it went both ways. So that happened, and it happened with like the elementals and angelics, right? And then, I forgot to tell her this because I didn't remember, what happened was something came in and said, why don't you just go back to the original consciousness, or the original whatever. And what it was the original frequencies, right? Like, and I don't know what they are. I'm not saying this is what they are, like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, right? They were the original frequencies. They had color, they had sound, and they had movement, and they had something else, and I can't remember what it was. So in other words, I was offered to just align with those. And then from there, everything comes, like the galactic, the elemental, whatever. And that's what I'm talking about. It's like we have the ability now, or maybe we always have, and I'm just a little slow learner, but to go back to the root,
the original template,
you know, and bring forth from there, because it's really just about, I don't know, you could say, am I worthy? Have I earned it? Have I, you know, whatever, or saying, this is me. Ultimately, this is me.
This is the embodiment of me. Yes.
So I don't know.
That was magic.
But I think that's what's happening to us. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, when you were describing that, what they were showing you,
yeah.
I felt like I was there with you as they were showing, and it's almost like you are the original template of perfection.
Mm-hmm.
Now, be the embodiment of these codes, these frequencies, these waves, these colors. That's brilliant.
Well, I think another thing that's happening too, because I see it as the communication.
Sorry, I was just like, that's brilliant.
Oh no, I'm out. I mean, but no, I mean, I'm up there with you. I can see the code. You know, it's the vortex. It's everybody that's here, even if it's a replay. But what I was saying is that it's what you said about, I felt like I was there. That's part of what I think has changed too. You can see something. It's kind of like that guy in that trip, you know, not stepping into Hitler's shoes, but being right there and being able to see everything, like people talk about. I feel like I'm observing myself or observing things like you were talking about. But it's like we pick the information up and there's no explanation. That's a good explanation. Is you know, I felt like I was there, or you just pick up what they got as they're relaying it, or as they're presenting something to you. Maybe it's a piece of art. I don't know. One of the things I noticed, and this has only been like 2-3 days, maybe even 1 or 2 days, is I'm starting to see a lot of images. You know how you get images flashing your third eye? And I've never had this happen before. Maybe other people have, but it's like the image flashes. It could be anything. It could be a shape. It could be an animal. It could be. And when it flashes, it's like I can smell it, touch it, or maybe not touch it, but know what their, you know, exterior feels like. It's weird. It's not a singular image. And obviously when you see images, they carry like a frequency or a code or data or something, but this is more. It's more sensual, like sensory, right? And maybe that's another weak explanation, you know, is, I don't know. To me, it's almost like we can only talk about the symptoms and the characteristics of the transition because they're all happening in real time. It's like, you know.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. It's almost like when you're presented with an image, it's almost like you're there enough to feel it, to be in it, to be part of it.
Right.
And I think more and more people, that's what we used to do, you know, telekinesis, how we were able to communicate to each other without cell phones and internet and all this kind of stuff. You know, more and more people are you know, whether having these experiences where they're like, oh, I was just thinking of you, like before my grandfather passed, I was laying in bed and my guides had said he's going to pass, and you need to get a hold of your uncle because my uncle lives out of town. And so I had called him and I said, you need to get down here. And he said, oh yes. And I called him again and I said, you need to leave. And unfortunately, he wasn't able to. However, just before my grandfather's passing, what you were saying about images not even being there, but an image was my great grandmother in the room with my grandfather, and I'm at home because COVID restrictions. And I had called, or I had sent a message to my mother saying, great grandma's in the room, grandpa's mother's in the room. He's gonna pass. And she said he just took his breath. And that's what you're saying is that exact, you don't have to be there, but you're there. You don't have to necessarily be there in person, but you can experience different things happening because of this connection that we have to the other realms.
Yeah. Which you're apparently bleeding through or merging or something, because when you look at it, it's code, it's information.
Right.
I don't mean to sound insensitive to any part of our lives, but just to keep it simple. But to me, it's very, okay, I know you're a practitioner. You've done sessions with people, like Morgan and I do sessions together and have since she introduced me to it when I met her. And we have what I would call joint dimensional experiences of many, many different degrees. So as a practitioner, I know you must have had moments where you're both seeing the same thing, right? Or you're seeing what they're seeing. And so to me, it feels like a lucid dream, dimensional experience type of frequency or band of frequencies or conduit or channel of the space, the reality or non-reality of space diminishing to where, a lot like what time has done. Time has done this over the last couple of years. People have talked about the glitches. You talked about the sleeping, the eating. I mean, times, the being on a 8 to 5 job or whatever the hours are. I mean, the whole element of time as an influence on our decisions is just going away. And so I think space is that's fourth dimension, time and space, apparently. So, how do two people from other sides of the world have physical interaction? How do you explain that? How do you explain some of the other things that can happen that we would think are anomalies, but they're not? Maybe these are symptomatic of the diminishing reality of space, which is based on our belief system, which, is, since it's not being reinforced, inverted matrix, these things are not being reinforced, they're not being projected anymore. They just basically are fading out through our own experience, which ultimately, what do you believe? Or what do you want to pursue? Or what do you want to create? Or what do you want to align with? And who are you? And what happens if I step out? Like, it's even like you stepping out today. I mean, he transitioned yesterday. There's already a lot of stuff going on, but there's something about showing up. And it's not like all these bells and whistles go off. It's not even about what you talk about. It's just about, like I think you said at the beginning of the show, like the realness. Just, hey, I don't feel good today. Hey, I feel great today. Hey, I don't know anything, right? I mean, whatever it is.
Without putting it, without placing a story around it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just this is the way it is.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's right. That 10th, 11th, and 12th, like that was really intense in the sense of what was happening. It wasn't like, major shadow work. It wasn't like that. But Morgan and I would get on the camera and we talk for a few minutes and we look at each other and go, well, I'll catch you in a couple of hours. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, it's nothing bad. And it was mutual. It's like this whatever was happening was so prominent that the old, method or whatever it was just wasn't there. I'll see you in a couple of hours. And we did that for 3 days. And But to me, again, I think, as the individual goes, so goes the collective. And then it's been amazing talking to people, this period 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, same thing, same exact thing. Like they're not freaking out. It's just like, wow, this is here. It's palpable. It's happening. It's new. It's a little freaky, and this epidemic of the old sleep patterns diminishing. Like I thought I was the only one. I don't want to go to sleep. I have to take a sleeping pill. I never take a sleeping pill in my life, just to try to go there.
Yeah.
So
you're laying in bed and it's 3, it's 4. Okay, well, I might as well get up.
Yeah, that's right. And it doesn't seem to deplete you. I mean, I've laid in bed. I'll tell you, 2 days ago, I laid in bed for 4 hours once I woke up, and I was connecting. I was just, I guess you would call it meditating. I was downloading. I was whatever. I don't know. I can't explain it. But nothing in me wanted to get up. But I didn't understand why I didn't want to get up. And I even asked Morgan. I was like, "Man, do you think that I might be falling into a depression?" Because if you get depressed, you can sleep a lot. And I've had periods like that a long time ago. But she was pretty much of the mindset that no, this is, although it's personal, it's happening everywhere. Like everything is just kind of weird. I consider it like a suspended animation kind of thing, like a period, before this period of the full moon and the solstice hits. And I guess what, if you look at the calendar, it was what people said, 21/12/2012. That was and now it's going to be, 21/12. What year is this? 2021. So it's the bookend. It's the bookend, though, right? So not only is it like the end of this period, of the year, of the month, or whatever, but it's this period of 2012 to 2021. That's got to mean something.
Well, 100%. And the fact that it's going to be full moon in Gemini, which the twins represent the divine masculine, the divine feminine. They also the polarities, and bringing everything up, the purification of that and what that means to us. And then, boom, the solstice.
Yeah, the solstice. The solstice is. I've only been paying attention to this stuff since like 2017. I mean, I was aware of, say, Lions Gates and stuff like that, being involved with Morgan, and she might say to me, "Hey, look out for this, or this is happening." But around 2017, the end of the year, I started to notice the 11/11, the 12/12, the solstice, and then going into January, like with 1/11 and 11/1, and and then the 2s and the 1s being the dates, how powerful those dates were. People talked about that. That wasn't my idea, but I noticed it, and every year it's gotten deeper and deeper. And you talked about clarity, seeing it more and more for what it is. But this time, it feels like a turbocharge. Like it feels like we were going along and then went like up, and now it's going along like this whole kind of quantum leap, I guess.
Yeah, that's the energy of Jupiter right now that's really kind of pushing us. It's a power planet. And I think we have energy of Sag too, which is like propelling us to have a little bit of fun as well,
Well, that would be good. I'm a Sag, so I should be sensitive to that. But yeah, I think that to me, it's like,
you're a Sag, I'm a Gemini. We're right across from each other.
What's Gemini? November?
Gemini is June.
Oh, June. Okay.
And you're Sag, which is right across.
Oh, like okay. Like 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, or 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think I again, just the showing up thing, which has a much bigger connotation than just like coming on a show, or like showing up for yourself. And there just feels like there's I don't know how to put this, but like support, or something's working with us. Like it's almost like an ease and grace frequency, right? Like things come to you, or
100%.
Realizations come to you, or a shadow comes to you, and it doesn't go through the same motions as it did 6 months ago. The whole process is different. And so, I mean, to me, like, and I've said this for years, the highest downloads, transmission channelings, and activations come from conversations like this. That's just my personal prejudicial opinion. But I'm really speaking of the energy of what works. And what works is seeing yourself in others in a way that's not polarizing. In other words, I'm seeing this person who a year ago, it could even be you, like a year ago, 2 years ago, oh, she's this and I'm that. And now it's, in the space between the words, or the atmosphere, the energy, it's like that oneness is happening. And so it's vastly altering our behavior. And quickly.
Holding each other in a sacred space. Yes.
Well, I'm happy that you decided to come on today.
Yeah,
I needed to get on here. I thought about sending you a note like I did the last two. I had internet problems with one of them, but I didn't want to come on, and I think the energy was basically giving me what I needed. So I'm glad that I came back on, and because I think it is important to keep going, and just.
I think that's a beautiful message, and that was one of the things that I thought. Like, life is so precious, and we really don't know what is happening in the next week or even the next day. And
True.
To show up with the intention of, we're just going to be real, we're just going to be us. And yes, like I said, no, but why? The time is now, and whatever needed to come through came through. Yeah.
Maybe we'll come back on later. Just depends. Or maybe I'll end up on the couch for the next 24 hours. But I appreciate you coming in. I know it's been an eventful day for you the last 24 hours, but thank you so much. It's good seeing you again. Have a good holiday. All blessings to you and your family through this time that you're going through. And I'll probably see you in 2022.
I hope so. Thank you.
Okay. Peace out, everybody. Thanks a lot, Jen.